Good afternoon, and welcome back to the Palmetto Family Matters Show. I'm Randy Page, and we're glad to have you as we continue our series of conversations with candidates running for governor of South Carolina. As always, Palmetto Family is a nonpartisan organization. We don't endorse candidates, but we do believe that it is important for you to hear directly from those who are seeking to lead our state on issues that affect families here in South Carolina. Today, I'm grateful to be joined by Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evette. Elected in 2018, she became the first female Republican to serve as South Carolina's lieutenant governor and the first to be elected on a joint ticket with the governor. Before entering public service, she built a successful career in business as the founder and CEO of Quality Business Solutions and Travelers Rest. She's also a wife and mother who has worked alongside Governor Henry McMaster for the past several years. Lieutenant Governor, thank you for being with us today.
Well, thank you for having me. It's great to see you.
It's good to see you as well. So let's jump in and get started.
Let's do it.
Great. Why do you want to serve as governor of South Carolina?
Wow, that's a great question. So let's jump right into it. You know, as you mentioned, I started my career off in business. I'm a trained accountant. Started my business and started growing it. But what I kept noticing, Randy, I grew it from literally an office in my house to a national company. Okay. So I was in 49 states, and I kept noticing that it was getting harder and harder to do business for my clients, right? They were small, medium-sized companies. We dealt with the back end of everything they did, so really entrenched in what government was doing. And I kept noticing, like, regulations were getting burdensome. Regulations that were coming through banking were getting harder and harder. And I kept saying to my husband, David, we need more business people. And honestly, President Trump coming down that golden escalator, for me, that was like the moment when I went, wow, here's a guy who can really change things. He knows what it's like to sign the front of a paycheck. He knows what it's like to deal with burdensome regulations. And it really inspired me. And I said to my husband, if I ever have a chance to serve, I'm going to take that. And he's like, he looked at me like husbands do, trying to be supportive and going, you've lost your mind? Like, that's great, honey. I don't know. But I just felt like if we had more business people that could understand what laws that get made, regulations that get imposed on us, what that really did to businesses, that we would be better off. So when the governor asked me to run as his lieutenant governor, I was really shocked. And I said to him, out of all the people in South Carolina, why me? And he said, because I want a business person. I want somebody that has a fresh set of eyes that can take a look at what's going on in government and help make positive changes for the state. And he said, I want you to talk that lingo that you talk with businesses, right? And we do. We have a lot of acronyms. Sure. We talk about things. And I think over the last 7 years of serving as the state's lieutenant governor, what I feel the most pride about is when I'm sitting and talking to a business, whether it be one of our large Fortune 500 companies or a really small mom and pop business, is that they always say, I've never sat at a table with an elected official who can talk to me about all the things that face us every day.
Wow, that's great. Oh, good. Well, as you know, South Carolina is a very legislatively driven state. If you were governor today, what are the top 3 issues that you would like to see passed in the 2026 session?
So, sticking with that theme of coming out of business, I think we have to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. So there's a lot of things that we need to do. First and foremost, we need to eliminate state income tax. They've done it in Tennessee, they've done it in Florida, they've done it in Texas. Those are our competitors, and I believe we can do it too here. I think that's going to work hand in hand with something that I've been talking about a lot around the state, which I like to call SCOJ instead of DOJ because it makes it really personal to South Carolina. But like I said earlier, I know first and foremost what burdensome regulations can do. So, I want to take a look at everything. I want to make sure we leverage technology, we leverage AI to really work efficiently. And if we do that, we know efficiency to every business person out there listening. Efficiency goes right to the bottom line. And the more we can do that within government, the more we can decrease the burden and the payments that we're paying with tax dollars, so we can eliminate them, focus them on the core things that we do and do them really well. And then I want to see all of our regulations sunsetted and brought back up in front of the General Assembly. Because when you talk to business people, that's what they talk about, right? Is like there's this regulation that came out of nowhere. It was put in place in 1950 and a bureaucrat pulled it out of their filing cabinet and now I'm dealing with it. So I think we should put those all back in front of the General Assembly or the cabinets that they came out of, right? The boards and commissions, which is another big thing. We got to make sure we put conservative people on those boards and commissions. And we have to make sure that we elect judges that are beholden to only one thing, the law, which means I would like to see the fact that the governor would appoint judges and the Senate could confirm them. I think that will go a long way for the way people view. There's been a lot of talk about conservative judges, and we've seen the power of that with President Trump. What he was able to do at the Supreme Court completely changed Roe v. Wade, which was a huge win for all of us who are so passionate about protecting life. And then I think school choice becomes something that I have carried the flag on since I have been in office, trying to be an advocate, because I believe that that's where the best educational outcomes come from, is parents getting involved in their children's education. I don't feel it's just their responsibility, it's their right to be able to do that.
Great, thank you. Well, we talk a lot about families here at Palmetto Family, and because they are a valuable building block for our country. So what causes or legislation would you champion to encourage and strengthen families here in South Carolina?
Well, I think we've seen a lot of what's been going on with the horrible assassination of Charlie Kirk. And I am a woman of deep faith. I've always been very passionate about my relationship with God. And I think we have taken parents so out of the equation when it comes to schooling, as I talked about with school choice, right? Making sure we get that across the finish line, but also protecting parental rights. I mean, my mom will be 97 years old next month. And it's so interesting to talk with her about just how, like, the family dynamic and how that has played, how that's playing out, right, in the public square and what our beliefs are. It's just, it always puts me back in check. And we've seen, like, with what's happening on our college campuses, you know, professors that are in a classroom molding our children every day, celebrating the assassination of Charlie Kirk, to me as a mother is horrifying. And as a mother that has a freshman on a college campus. So I think it's how do we protect the will of parents? And we've seen that play out here in South Carolina over the last week, almost week now. Where parents have said enough is enough. I don't want these teachers in my classroom helping to mold my children because they're with them a good chunk of the day. Right. I don't want them teaching radical ideology in the classroom and preaching hate to my children. So I think that's where we have to be. We have to stand with our parents on what's important to them. You know, we have this other, you know, I hear about it as we've moved around the state, is schools keeping information from parents. We have to make sure that can't be done. I mean, I remember when I was a new mom and Amanda was going off to school, I mean, I had to sign 6 different consent forms to give her a cough drop, an aspirin, you know, whatever could be happening at school. And now to think that your child could be getting coached on changing their gender and the school, you know, willfully keeping parents out of that, that's got to be changed. And just good common sense things that we feel. I mean, South Carolina, we're rooted in our faith, right? We are in what you would call the buckle of the Bible Belt. So, you know, I am applauding the General Assembly because I was up in the House when we were talking about keeping biological males out of girls' sports. At that point, we were on the forefront of that piece of legislation. People were wondering why we were even talking about it. Thank God we did, because we were able to keep it out of what we were trying to do here in our state.
Absolutely. Great. Thank you. Well, in the legislature this session, there's been a push by several Republicans to advance bills legalizing casino gambling and online sports betting. At Palmetto Family, we're concerned about the effect of predatory gambling on the citizens of South Carolina. What concerns do you have about this proposed legislation?
Well, Randy, I think we should all have concerns about anything predatory that would be happening within our state, right? Because there's always this balance in the General Assembly is how do you protect people's freedoms while protecting families? And so I think that has to be something people have to weigh in on. I'm up in the General Assembly all the time, and I do my best. It's become a rule in watching Governor McMaster is to not comment on legislation that we don't know what it's going to look like. Because what it goes into the session looking like usually doesn't resemble what it looks like at the end. But I believe people have to weigh in, and I encourage people all the time to reach out to your elected officials. I have spent 7 years making relationship in the House and the Senate and with people of faith, right? Our faith-based community, the governor has a great saying. He says, it's a 6-foot bed and we have a 4-foot blanket. And it's our faith-based communities and our non-for-profits that fill that gap. And so it's great to be up there making those relationships. But what I encourage everybody to do is if you're passionate about issues that you think will affect you or your communities, you should reach out to your elected officials, people that you know and that know you, so that they can craft. Because I fundamentally believe that no matter who you are, you're elected to do the will of the people that vote for you. And they have to weigh in on issues from education to things like that, to roads and bridges. Weigh in and start having respectful conversations with your legislators.
Yes, and it's amazing to me, having worked in both the governor's office and lieutenant governor's office in the past, how few people do actually reach out. And so that's always been one of the things that we encourage people to do, pick up the phone, drop them an email. They're
Yes.
very accessible. They want to hear from you. And so I think that's very important.
Randy, thank you so much for saying that, because I say that all the time. And I always tell people, don't assume we know. Don't assume your legislators know how you feel. Don't assume the governor and I know how you feel. We do want to hear from you because we do want to do your will.
Yes, absolutely. Great. Well, in reflecting on your time in public service, what do you feel uniquely qualifies you to serve as South Carolina's next governor?
Well, Randy, it is what has become kind of the battle cry around the state, encouraging me to run, is the fact that I'm a business person. And I have spent the majority of my life building a business from scratch, not a business that was given to me, right? And looking at how to do that successfully, looking at balancing a lot of challenges at one time. And honestly, if you look at the resume of all the people at this point who have thrown their hat in the ring, look at what they've been able to do, look where their skill sets are. And I think that's important. I stood with President Trump from the beginning because I believed in him. And I think loyalty matters. And I think that's what he's been able to do, is take his experience in business and run the country to make sure that we get the things done we have to do. We start to run efficiently. We're not wasting money. We're lowering taxes. We're not letting other countries take advantage of us. And he has all that knowledge the same way I did, because we built it from nothing. And we've been in the trenches every day to get things done. And I think that's important. And for me, I've said from the beginning, this isn't my campaign, right? This is a movement across the state. And I think business people are stepping up and saying, listen, South Carolina is the best place to live, work, and raise your family. I believe that. And I believe that our best days are still ahead of us. And we need the right kind of leadership to make sure they can take us to that next level. And I believe I am that next kind of leadership.
Great, thank you. Well, as we close today, how can voters get in touch with you to find out more about your campaign?
Well, you can reach me on all of my social media, which is, I think, the wave of the future, right?
Yes.
So I'm on Truth, and I'm on Facebook, and I'm on Instagram, and I'm on LinkedIn. And I really love, Randy, to talk about all the positive things that go on in our state. Because there's so much to feel thankful for and happy about. So please join me on any of those channels. You can see where I am on any given day as Lieutenant Governor, as candidate for governor. And you can go out to PamelaEvette.com. And you can see more about my platform. You can hear more about what I've done in my prior life in the private sector. And so I encourage everybody to go and do that. Follow along. We give out regular emails. I've done a blast quarterly as lieutenant governor to everybody who follows me to talk about where I've been in the state, cool businesses that I have seen, big and small, and just great stories that I've heard of people doing amazing things in our state.
Great. Well, Lieutenant Governor, thank you so much for spending time with us today and sharing your vision for South Carolina. We look forward to continuing this series with other candidates in the weeks ahead, and we hope you'll join us for those sessions as well. To learn more about the work of Palmetto Family Council, visit palmettofamily.org. And don't forget to follow us on social media. And if you found today's discussion helpful, leave a 5-star rating and review so more people can hear these important conversations. On behalf of all of us at Palmetto Family, thank you for joining us. God bless.